I was in the airport in Amsterdam. I was on the phone and I said Doksha, which means in our language, I'll talk to you later. And the lady next to me was a Dutch woman and she was like, were you speaking a different language? And I was like, yeah. She was like, are you from Spain? And I was like, no. I was like, I'm indigenous from the States. And she was like, you're what? She could not understand. And then she was like, oh, like Indian. Yes, like native to the United States of America. She audibly gasped and was like, I have never met one. I didn't think you guys were still. And then she paused and caught herself. And I was like, alive? And she said, yes. And I said, yeah, well, we're still here first off.
Welcome, everyone. This is Jermaine Jackson, sports producer here at Daybreak Star Radio, the only station indigenizing the airwaves. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with a legend in the native basketball world, the multi-talented athlete, Lakota Beatty. She was a Jim Thorpe Player of the Year, a former Gatorade Player of the Year, and was recently inducted into the North American Indigenous Athletics Hall of Fame this year. We are excited to get an inside look at her story. Lakota, welcome and thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. Haumidakiapi, Imachiapi, Huhuashtewia. Hello, relatives. My name is Lakota Beatty. My given Dakota name is Good Voice Woman. I am an enrolled member of the Caddo Nation of Oklahoma, but my mom is from Standing Rock, so I'm also Lakota, Dakota, Nakota from Fort Belknap, Montana. And I am so excited to be here today.
Can you tell us your earliest memory of playing basketball and what initially drew you to the sport?
My earliest moments of consciousness, I probably had a ball in my hand. My parents said that I had one in my hand at about two. So both of my parents played basketball. They actually met on the Turney Trail in Denver. My dad being from Oklahoma, my mom's from Fort Yates, and then came together and had four girls. And so they both played basketball in college, actually. My dad played Division I at OCU here in Oklahoma City. And so my earliest memories are of my parents playing too. Not just with me, but I remember being, 4, 5, 6, and they were shooting around outside and just being really active. And I think that really spurred my love for basketball. And we were just super just athletic and outside all the time. So at a very young age, I knew all of that. And I think that really set the tone for me for obviously the rest of my life, even now into my professional career. I mean, as long as I can remember, I've had a ball in my hand and in my brain.
Was your family kind of very competitive?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, for sure. Even with my parents, like I said, my parents played until they played in the Indian tournaments until, my dad was like late 40s and my mom, she had kids, but she was still playing. And so,
Uh-huh.
I played against them and the best thing they did was never let us win.
When were you able to beat your mom and dad in basketball?
I think around freshman year, I hit a little bit of a growth spurt. I was real little until seventh or eighth grade, eighth or ninth grade, actually. I was about 5'5", and then I shot up to like almost 5'9". And so that point, freshman year, sophomore year is when I really started to whoop up on them.
So, how has your cultural heritage influenced your approach to sports?
Oh my gosh, it's everything. I think that's one of the best things, if not the best thing that my parents instilled in me is just making sure we grew up around it. I'm from Anadarko, Oklahoma. I don't know if I mentioned that, but we have 6 different tribes. It's a lot different than the reservations and the reservations I visited. So growing up, I knew a lot of people, other tribes. I knew a lot of different languages. You hear them speak. I think we're close to 80% Native American in our school systems. So I think just my parents teaching me the stories, it was really the stories of my ancestors and not even in a super spiritual way, but in a matter of fact, my Caddo people were down in Louisiana back in the 1800s and we got removed, like forcefully removed up all the way to where we are now. And so my grandmother really teaching me that and just teaching the facts really showed me the strength and resilience of them being able to survive. So I'm here and my sisters are here. So I think that has always been a motivating factor for me, especially on the basketball court.
What kept you motivated, during those times, the tough times?
I did lose a sister to suicide in 2017, and she played Division I with me too. She was my teammate. I did some camps in different Native communities, and every camp I went to, the person directing the camp or whoever came up to me and they were like, I lost my sister to suicide too. I lost my dad. I lost my mom. I lost my cousin. And you see the young suicides, like, like there's, 9, 10-year-old kids. So that obviously affected me greatly while I was still in my grieving process. So I switched my degree to counseling. And so I'm still working on that. When I retire, I'll finish that up. But I think the mental part of it specifically, it's like the study of epigenetics, and not to get too scientific, but
Hmm.
study of your genes and stuff like that, and how our genes play a role. And now we understand that this historical trauma, generational trauma, we actually can understand how that plays a part in, in our mental health. So I think understanding that has helped me in my process. So I think it's really important to, when I go speak, to tell all athletes, the importance of it, and just to get that in their brain, because I didn't know about the mental side of things until after I lost my sister.
So looking back at your like a basketball career, is there like a particular moment or maybe an accomplishment that like stands out?
Winning Gatorade Player of the Year was, I was the first person in my school history to win it. I have a banner up at my gym in my high school, and I don't get to go back that often, but I went back last year and I saw it, and I was like, wow, that it just materialized, I think, for me, just because I was in the gym and I was like, wow, I spent hours and hours and hours and hours and millions of shots.
How was it and how important was it to have that discipline, installed in you, from a young age?
I think discipline is single-handedly the most important trait I think you can have as an athlete, not just an athlete, but I think in general.
Hmm.
But specifically for athletics, I think there was just, I thankfully was just so obsessed with basketball that that's all I wanted to do. So even nothing else distracted me. But I think the discipline that set me apart from a lot of athletes growing up and made me the best, because I knew that's all I wanted to do. I knew I was going to do that. And I knew other athletes weren't going to do the same as me. And so I think the discipline part, and now I think it's like the hardest muscle to work. And I really just understood from a very young age, because of my parents, that it's practice.
Just believing in yourself. Sorry, I feel like you had like a great belief in yourself.
To me, the belief comes from the work. And it's
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
I never stepped on the court and was like, I'm the best because I'm just born this way. I knew without a doubt, 110%, that no one was shooting more than me. Obviously, my career has not been, it's everyone's career is up and down, but I've had moments, and even in my professional career last year, where it's like, I knew I didn't shoot enough. I knew I didn't stretch enough. I knew I didn't get off my phone and go to sleep. And I was tired in a game. I missed my layups. I bricked my threes. Like, so I think it's really important to show both sides, because the discipline, though, definitely has carried me this
yeah.
far.
And so finally, what advice would you give the young Indigenous athletes?
Physically, on the physical side, um, just don't let anyone outwork you. I think physically wise, that's a good starting point. But I do also think, being Indigenous, like, you have to learn where you come from. You have to know who you come from.
Was the main character, Cowchani Brad. And instantly, me and him just clicked. We looked at each other. I felt like I knew him. He felt like he knew me. It was like, I know this dude. Where's this dude from? And we didn't know each other. We had no idea who each other were, but we clicked in some way. And I remember reading my